Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are undertaking a really critical deep dive into Thailand. If this is a destination you love or, if you're even planning a big move, you'll know the landscape of visas and entry rules is shifting dramatically right now in late 2025.
It really is.
The digital paperwork is changing, the long-term opportunities are expanding, but, well, the compliance hammer is also dropping harder than ever.
It really is.
So our mission today is to cut through that mountain of confusing online forums and travel blogs to give you the definitive, essential facts.
Yeah, and it's an absolutely essential conversation because the changes, they reflect a major policy conflict. Thailand is actively trying to position itself as this, modern, high-value hub.
Which we see in the new visa tiers.
Exactly. But at the same time, they're cracking down fiercely on anyone trying to exploit the old short-term loopholes, the so-called visa runners.
Yeah.
So we have to focus immediately on the new rules that affect everyone. This is the mandatory digital entry card, the severe limits on repeat land border entries, and frankly, some very serious legal and safety warnings.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning then. The moment you step off the plane or cross a border, what are the mandatory hoops everyone has to jump through now?
Well, the biggest change, the one affecting every single person, whether you arrive by air, land, or sea, is the Thailand Digital Arrival Card,
Yeah.
the TDAC.
So the old paper TM6 form is completely gone.
Obsolete. Since May 1st, 2025, the TDAC is mandatory.
And how does that actually work?
You have to complete it online within 3 days before you arrive. It's free, but if you forget, you will face some serious friction at the border.
You're going to hold up the line.
You become the bottleneck. The whole system is designed to streamline things, but that only works if you have that QR code confirmation ready for the immigration officer.
Right. It makes sense for efficiency. But even with the digital push, some of the most basic, low-tech stuff is still what catches people out, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The classic mistakes. You still need your passport to have an expiry date at least 6 months after your arrival date. And you must have at least one completely blank page for the stamp. It sounds so obvious, but that 6-month rule is completely non-negotiable.
And you can get denied boarding before you even leave home.
Exactly. And speaking of non-negotiable, let's talk health checks.
Okay, we know the COVID-19 vaccination requirements are gone, which is a relief for many.
It is, but there's another one that people frequently overlook.
Yellow fever.
That's the one. Proof of vaccination is mandatory if you are coming from or have even just had a long layover in a country listed as a transmission risk.
And it's mostly Africa or South America.
Right, but that layover detail is key. A lot of travelers transiting through, say, Ethiopia or Panama get caught out by this. It's very strictly enforced.
Okay, so from entry requirements to customs, this is a detail that always surprises people. We all know the drug laws are severe, but there's a really strict limit on something much more mundane.
Cigarettes. And this is so crucial for the casual traveler. It is illegal to bring more than 200 cigarettes per person into Thailand.
And the fines are serious.
Staggering. Up to 10 times the value of the goods. You can imagine someone bringing in a carton and a half for their holiday, not thinking anything of it, and then facing a massive, financially devastating fine.
It just shows how high the stakes are for seemingly tiny infractions. So let's get to the fundamental question for genuine tourists. How long can you actually stay visa-free?
So the good news is that for citizens of the 93 eligible countries, the initial visa-free stay is still 60 days.
For tourism or business?
Right. And you can extend that once for an additional 30 days at an immigration office. So you can get up to 90 days total, which is very generous.
It sounds incredibly welcoming. But this is where we hit that tightrope you mentioned, the crackdown. If they're granting 90 days to tourists, who are they targeting with all this extra scrutiny?
They're targeting the people who use those short-term stamps to effectively live there permanently. Often working illegally or even running scams. Thailand is really determined to clean up that image.
And the most concrete change is at the land borders.
That's the clearest red line. If you're entering by land from Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, or Malaysia, unless you're Malaysian entering from Malaysia, you are now strictly limited to only 2 entries per calendar year.
Wow, only 2?
And each of those entries only gets you 15 days. So that single rule just completely demolishes the old practice of doing border runs to reset your stay.
Okay, so that's the land borders. What about air travel? That's got to be harder to police.
It is, and it's much more about discretion and pattern recognition.
So what are they looking for?
Immigration officers are trained to screen more intensely if a traveler is spending, say, close to 180 days a year on visa exemptions without clear proof of returning home.
So they're looking for red flags.
Exactly. No clear ties to your home country, no job, no home address, you can't show enough funds for your trip. Vague answers. They want to differentiate the genuine tourist from someone setting up an unauthorized residence.
And the risk of getting this wrong, especially overstaying, is just severe. Can you remind us how harsh those penalties are?
They are extremely harsh. Overstaying incurs a fine of 500 Thai baht a day, up to a 20,000 baht max.
Okay.
But if you overstay for a long time, say over 90 days, you risk being detained. And we have to stress the conditions in immigration detention are widely reported to be very, very harsh.
And after detention.
Deportation at your own expense, and then you get banned from re-entering Thailand for up to 10 years. It can derail your life.
And there's some confusion on the horizon for this, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Authorities confirmed in late 2025 they are reassessing the 60-day visa exemption. There's serious talk of reverting that initial state after 30 days for many nationalities.
So the 60-day rule is active now, but that could change.
It could, and with
Okay.
very little notice, so you have to be prepared for that.
So the message is clear. If you want stability, you have to play the long game.
What are the legitimate options for digital nomads or frequent visitors who want a stable base?
The main new option is the Destination Thailand Visa, or DTV. This one is explicitly aimed at a specific group: digital nomads, freelancers, remote workers.
And people involved in what they call soft power activities. Let's unpack that, because that's specific government language. What do they mean by that?
It means leveraging Thai culture. So things like extended Muay Thai training, specialized cooking courses, or long-term medical or wellness treatments.
Ah, okay. So things that bring money into the economy over a longer period.
Exactly. And the DTV itself is really attractive. It's a 5-year multiple entry visa. Each entry allows for 180 days, and you can extend that once for another 180 days.
So you could stay for up to a full year without leaving.
Up to 360 days, yes. But you do have to show a minimum of 500,000 Thai baht in savings.
Which is around 16,000 US dollars.
That's right. So not a massive hurdle for a skilled remote worker, but it does target a certain caliber of person. Now, if someone wants the absolute highest tier of stability, that brings us to the long-term resident visa, the LTR.
Yeah, the LTR is Thailand's big play to attract global talent and wealth. It's a 10-year, multiple entry visa. And a huge benefit is you only have to report to immigration once a year.
Instead of every 90 days.
Right, which is a big administrative relief.
Let's look at the thresholds for the 4 categories because they are strategically very high.
They absolutely are. They're targeting the global top tier. For the wealthy global citizen, you need $1 million in assets, with $500,000 of that in specific Thai assets.
And for the remote worker, the work from Thailand professional.
That category requires an annual income of $80,000.
Right. So they're basically saying, we welcome remote workers, but only the very high earners.
Precisely. They're filtering the market. And in the 4th category, highly skilled professionals in targeted industries, they get a huge incentive.
The tax break.
A heavily discounted personal income tax rate of just 17% on their employment income. That is a massive draw.
And behind the scenes, they're simplifying things too, right?
They are. On August 31st, 2025, they consolidated 17 non-immigrant visa categories down to just 7. This sounds like paperwork, but it's huge. It simplifies the administrative nightmare for businesses and long-term residents.
And before we leave these high-tier options, there's a really crucial deadline coming up for the Elite Visa program.
The Thailand Privilege Card, yes.
We saw that the affordable 5-year bronze tier membership, which was the entry point for so many people, is set to be permanently discontinued after December 31st, 2025.
That is a hard deadline. If you're considering that simplified 5-year route, that window is closing very, very quickly.
An absolute priority if that's on your radar.
For sure. But, all these new visas and digital systems, they don't mean anything if travelers aren't safe. We need to shift to the serious legal and security warnings coming from government sources.
That's a perfect transition. Let's start with the geographic warnings. What areas are actually deemed unsafe?
So overall, the general advice is level 2. Exercise increased caution. But there are explicit do not travel zones.
And where are those?
The far southern provinces of Yala, Patani, and Narathiwat due to ongoing insurgency, and also areas within 50 kilometers of the Thai-Cambodian border because of low-intensity armed conflict.
Beyond the geography, the strictness of Thai law is where I think travelers can fall into the biggest danger, often just from a lack of understanding.
That's right. The most unique and potentially dangerous law for foreigners is lèse majesté.
Which means making any critical comment about the royal family is punishable by up to 15 years in prison.
Per offense. And this isn't a free speech issue, it's deeply rooted in cultural respect. Even something like purposely defacing a Thai banknote with the king's image on it could be interpreted as an offense.
You have to be so careful. And in the digital age, there's another surprising legal danger: defamation.
Yes. Thailand's defamation laws are incredibly strict. If you publicly defame a business, say, by leaving a really harsh negative review online about your hotel or restaurant, they can pursue criminal penalties against you.
Wait, so you could be arrested for a negative online review?
You can be arrested, fined, or even jailed for what might be considered normal consumer feedback in other countries. It's a critical warning.
And of course, the life or death warnings that can't be understated: drugs.
The penalties for possession, use, or trafficking of illegal drugs in Thailand are among the most severe in the world. Long jail sentences, heavy fines, even execution. They enforce these laws rigorously, with no leniency for foreigners.
We also need to touch on scams, because tourist areas are always magnets for them.
Yeah, you have the standard pickpocketing and bag snatching, but the most insidious scam involves rentals, motorbikes, and jet skis.
Where they hold your passport as collateral.
Right. And then they claim you caused some fictitious damage and won't give your passport back until you pay an exorbitant fee.
So the key piece of advice here is:
never, ever use your passport as collateral. Ever. Use a photocopy, maybe a driving license, but protect that document at all costs.
And finally, let's wrap up with one of the most critical safety issues, which ties back to the country's infrastructure, road safety, and medical care.
The data is just alarming. Thailand has one of the world's highest traffic-related fatality rates. The risks are incredibly high. Reckless driving, speeding.
So if you're a pedestrian,
you have to be hyper-aware. Use pedestrian bridges. Look repeatedly before you cross any road. Just assume that no driver has seen you.
And what about medical care if something does happen?
It's a mixed bag. World-class hospitals in Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Phuket. But outside those hubs, care is very basic. And crucially, hospitals often require payment up front, sometimes in cash.
Which is why supplemental insurance is so important.
It's essential, specifically insurance that covers medical evacuation back to a major city or even all the way home.
So if we step back and summarize the central tension here, it feels like Thailand has unequivocally chosen its path. It's pushing for this digital high-income future, but at the same time, it's closing every single loophole that allowed for misuse in the past.
And the takeaway for you, the listener, is simple. Prioritize compliance. Whether you're staying for 5 days or 5 years, the rules are clearer than they've ever been, and so is the enforcement. Understanding the digital rules, respecting the border limits, knowing the legal severity, it's all crucial.
Which leads us to the final thought we want to leave you with. The push for high-skilled, wealthy residents clearly defines Thailand's future economic direction. But how effectively can the country manage the serious underlying risks like those devastatingly high road accident rates in the ongoing conflict zones, while still successfully selling its image as a safe, compliant, and welcoming global hub for talent? Something to consider as Thailand moves into its next chapter.